So right before the break, we were talking about computer engineering for babies, which is
Yeah.
a book that I had shown Andy a couple weeks ago. He sent me the Elenco Spy Kit, which Max loves, and so I showed him these books. It's Computer Engineering for Babies
Yeah.
and Computer Engineering for Big Babies by Chase Roberts, who we happen to have on the show with us today.
The guy that put it all together. Chase, welcome to the show. It's good to talk to
Thank
you.
you. Thanks for
Uh,
having me. Yeah.
this is like really cool. Shawn was showing me these, and I thought, well, you know what? It's kind of a neat way for children to understand technology, and it makes blinky things go, and you can flip switches and everything. What made you decide to kind of put this all together?
Oh man, it was a bunch of different things. Probably the main driver was so when my wife and I first had our baby, he was maybe 1 at the time, and he loved light switches. And I would just hold him next to a light switch, and he would flip it and then turn and make sure that like the light turned on, and then he would turn back and flip it again and turn, and he would do that for an hour if I could hold him that long. And finally, I
Wow.
was like, we got to just move this into a sit down experience because my back hurts. Um, and so that was kind of like the main driver. Well, another kind of partial inspiration was um, when I was going to university, there was a book that I saw floating around on the internet called HTML for Babies.
Yes.
And I got married, I had my kid, somebody bought me that book, and I'm going through it, and it was just garbage. They just took random words and put little brackets around it. And it was like doll with brackets. And I'm like, that's not HTML. That's just those are just baby words with brackets.
Yeah.
And I was like, anyway, so kind of those two experiences came together, and I thought, what if we made a book that actually delivered on the promise from from the cover page? I kind of realized, oh, it's just the reason why I was seeing this online is just because the title is kind of funny, HTML for babies. You would never expect that there would be a book for babies about HTML. And so that I figured like nobody that's buying this book is actually excited about it because it's terrible. So I thought, what if we made a book that actually delivered on that promise um, of kind of introducing just like these basic concepts? And I studied computer engineering in school, and like, I'm learning about these different gates, OR gates and gates, and I'm like, this stuff's simple enough that a baby, maybe not a baby, but like, 1 or 2 or 3
Yeah.
year olds could pick this up and could play with it and learn it and like understand what's going on. Like an AND gate is not that terribly complicated. Um, so I just all of those kind of came together, and um, yeah, I 5 years later I launched a
Right.
Kickstarter and it did really well, and so I've continued making books, and here I am.
Well, it's neat
So
because
talk to a little bit about. I know you documented pretty well the development of the book. Like, what were some of the big steps you had to take to get the book out?
Oh man, uh, so many. Just like I mean, just figuring out how to make something that could be produced in a large scale is uh just so difficult. I mean, it doesn't seem like it should be difficult, but like if you've never done it before and you're figuring it out yourself, there's just so many hurdles that you get stuck on that you would never expect. Um, I thought I knew how to make a circuit board, and so I kind of designed my own board, and I had originally laid it out with discrete chips for the AND gate and the OR gate and everything. And I had the board made, and then I'm trying to populate the board, and I have no soldering skills because I've been working in app development for the last 10 years. So I've got my soldering iron out, and I'm so bad at it. And I've populated the whole board, and of course it doesn't work. But doing just that process, you learn like, oh, here's why it's not working, and you figure it out, and then you iterate. It took me 10 prototypes to get something that kind of worked. Um, so just the prototyping phase was just iteration after iteration. I almost gave up on it several times because I don't know about you guys, but I get a new idea and I get so excited about doing something new. New things are shiny, and it's like I love new shiny things, and it's
yeah.
hard to put energy into older ideas. Um, And so finally, my wife, though, she was like, look, you're getting distracted with all these different things. Like that computer engineering for babies idea, that's your best one. Like you should just finish that idea before you get too distracted on some of these others. So she really pushed me to finish the book, and in my mind finishing was just like I got to get this to Kickstarter and put it out there, and my expectation was I'll put it on Kickstarter, friends and family will maybe chip in a couple grand, and the the project will not fund on Kickstarter, and I'll end up kicking in $10,000 of my own money to do a production run of 1,000 books, and then I'll hand them out to trick-or-treaters every Halloween. That was like what I expected. Um,
It had a different effect though, didn't it? I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
really.
it like way surpassed expectations. Just I I mean I did that and I posted it to Kickstarter and all my friends and family, and it raised 1,000 or two. And then I was like, well, what next? And I thought, well, I should post this to Reddit because I I'm a casual Reddit user.
Right.
So there's an Arduino subreddit, and I posted it there. I was thinking like, these are my people. If anybody's gonna like get it, like it's the Arduino guys. Uh,
Right.
and it was made like the first versions were made with an Arduino. I got away from discrete chips because I needed the analog to digital converters. Okay, sorry. We're just pushing on the stack here. So here's the here's the book, and it uses light sensors to know which page you're open to because it's the same two buttons on every page. And so there are little holes cut in the corner of the page, and those let light in, and there's light sensors in the very back of the book. There's
Oh,
a circuit
wow.
board, and there's some photo transistors that we're pulling to see how much light is coming into each through each hole. And then based on those light readings, we're able to figure out, okay, they're on page three. Um,
Got it. All right.
so originally I was trying to just do discrete components, but it wasn't working to just these light sensors to be a Boolean on or off. It needed some more nuance than that. So I needed the analog to digital converters of a microcontroller and to be able to write code to say like, okay, if this one's coming in really bright and this one's really dim, then this page is probably closed. Whereas before, if you're in a really bright environment, even if the page is closed, it might still get some light coming in, if you're
Right.
outside
Right.
on a bright day, and then how does that differ from if you're in a dark room and you're on the last page and all the sensors are open, so there's just kind of tuning for different light environments. Anyway, popping off the stack one. I'm using an Arduino now, and so I thought, okay, the Arduino subreddit, those are my people. They're gonna love this. And I kind of posted it, and then my family, we went camping. And so I'm up in the mountains and I'm checking my phone, and I'm not even looking at the Kickstarter anymore. I'm just looking at Reddit because I've never had a Reddit post do so well in my entire life. Like it's just so many, it's getting so many upvotes. And every time I check it, it's got another 100, 150 upvotes. And I'm just blown away. I'm like, oh my gosh, people
Wow.
love my, it was just this stupid video that I made of me like holding the book going through it. Um, anyway, and I was like, people are loving it, and it's getting so many upvotes. So that was just really exciting. And then at the end of the day, I think the first day it had raised like $12,000, and my goal was like 10. And so I was just like mind blown that I was able to
Yep.
do this on the first day. I had done some other Kickstarter campaigns in the past. My wife actually did a coloring book that she launched on Kickstarter called Resistors, and it was about, women in history that she felt were needed to be noticed more.
Very cool.
This was
Very cool.
So I will say that I found your book via probably that Reddit post.
Oh,
So
really?
I'm in
yeah,
that Adrian. Yeah, I mean that's where I found it. It came on Reddit, and then I went to your Kickstarter and I kickstarted it. And yeah, so it's the power of the internet, man. It's I don't know. I just saw something. I'm a big techie, right? And I saw this. I
yeah,
was like, I wanted, always wanted to build something with latches, buttons. I was gonna build my own so we could have light switches, LEDs, all that stuff. And then I saw this. I was like, this is it. this is what I wanted to build, and he built it. So it's incredible, and it's like the people that I've shown it to, they're like, "Oh, what's that? Computer engineering for me?" And then they flip through it and they go, "Oh, this makes sense." And you can see them in their brain. The processes are clicking. So it's really just a cool, a unique concept that you said took something very simple and just made an awesome product out of it.
Well, everything could be, and I don't know if you found this out, Chase, but everything could be a learning experience for a child, especially with if this then, because it's all cause and effect. Yesterday my grandson was over, and we were like, he was playing around with a flashlight. I just handed him a flashlight, and he was having so much fun with it because I showed him how it turns off and on, and that was what was kind of an experience with him. And I think the books kind of help establish that if then that that cause and effect, kids really like that because then they feel like they're in control of it in some ways.
Yeah, for sure. And like for younger kids, it's just about smashing buttons and seeing lights turn on. But as
Yeah.
they get a little bit older, and even like I've had people report, oh yeah, my 2-year-old finally figured out the and gate, and it's like you got to press both at the same time to get it to light up. And like it's just kind of fun to see kids, play with it. And yeah, originally it's just like hitting the button, seeing a light turn on, but then like they start to learn that, oh, each page is different. Like there's some subtleties here, and they start to kind of figure those out. And that's fun to be a part
So
of.
take a step back, right? So you published the first one through Kickstarter, it funded, it did really well. Then you decided, well, let's make a second book. Talk to a little bit about that step in deciding, well, here's the first one. Let's make it a whole other book.
Yeah. Yeah, so I did the first one. I don't know why I felt like, I mean, I guess the first one did so well. It was like, hey, we should do a sequel. And I got really excited about the idea of having switches instead of
Yeah.
buttons. Um, I don't know. Kids probably don't care either way, whether it's buttons or switches. But I guess I was looking at some of the next components that you learn when you're taking computer engineering at the university, and it's like, well, after you learn about gates, then you learn about multiplexers and decoders. And so I was kind of thinking, all right, let's do those. And, you know, you get the switches in, and there's only 2 switches in the book. Some of my prototypes had like 6 switches so that you could really control every input signal for the book. I ended up getting away from that just to simplify. So there's 2 switches, and some of the inputs are, I guess, computer controlled. Um, I've got it right here.
Yeah.
Um,
If
so
you're
yeah, it's kind of playing around with these different ideas.
you have to design like each page, don't you? So you have the page, it flips over. So you had to design, okay, the cutout is going to be here, and this is where the switch is going to go, and how this is going to apply to that page, and then the next page. It all had to flow
Yeah,
together.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, just designing like, I mean, because you can't move the switches around, so it's like, okay, graphically, we have to fit everything into this area, on each page because we need room for the switches and the LEDs, and those can't move because we're reusing them on each page. So there's a lot of design stuff that goes in, and my wife's really good at that. She helps me figure all that stuff out because I'm just like, get something that functions that's made out of cardboard, and we're there. But she's like,
Uh,
no, it's got to be pretty.
Once you had kids, you get married, you have kids. Yeah, it doesn't it kind of change your world a little? Because I know for Sean it did. I've known Sean
No,
since he got
hugely,
his kids.
hugely
Yeah,
changes your world.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, all of a sudden your free time is next to zero, and like just the things that you're concerned, like the problems you have are so much different than before you had kids, right?
yep.
Now it's like, how do I keep my kids silent on an airplane for 4 hours? Right? Like that's my biggest problem. And that was actually another like inspiration for the book. It was like, I don't want this to make like, I don't want it to make noise. I don't want there to be a speaker on it. I just want it like to be as quiet as possible. Like the buttons still make a little bit of a clickety clack noise when you click them, but
Yeah.
like this can be used on an airplane. That was kind of one of the requirements. Is like this will not drive anybody too crazy, you know?
Well, I tell you what, Shawn is a big fan of it, and from what we've seen so far, his kids love it. I think other listeners who have kids, grandkids like me, would love it as well. And again, it's kind of an introductory experience to that cause and effect, if this, then that, and a kind of a study in engineering, which doesn't hurt to introduce them to that stuff and make it fun. That's
Yeah.
the thing; they seem to have fun with it too.
So Chase, now that like we've talked about the book, where can our listeners go pick up a copy of this book or both?
Um, yeah, so I just sell them primarily on my website, computerengineeringforbabies.com. Or if you just search computer engineering for babies, like I think it's the first thing that shows up.
Cool. We'll put a link on our blog and our website as well, but computerengineeringforbabies.com. We hope our listeners check this out. I want to thank you for spending the time with us and coming on and talking about it. Some great stuff.
Yeah, Andy, appreciate it. Thank you so much.